What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NEWstalgia Podcast. In this episode, you're going to find Bryan, Irvin, and Trey chatting about the best arcade game, or the ones that we liked the most. We talk about a few different ones throughout our lives, including our childhoods. We also have a few new different segments. The NEWstalgia, some birthday shout-outs, you've got questions, we've got answers segment, and then also a very new one here at the end where Bryan defends the indefensible. As always, please head over to Apple Podcasts, drop that 5-star, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about us. Help us grow this audience. All right, you know the drill. Before we get started, here's a quick clip for you to enjoy.
But you can also force choke Sebulba when you're racing.
Fuck that guy.
And that would be chef kiss.
What a dick. Sebulba was such a dick.
Fuck that guy.
Nah, dude, he was just like, he was in the zone. Like, he was a competitor and he didn't want some punk kid who had magical Jesus powers to come out and...
All right. Welcome back to Nerd Nostalgia, my friends. Got the same cast of characters as usual. Irvin, Bryan.
Hey, guys.
Trey forced me to do the intro on this one, so I'm doing it. Yay.
We should really write copy in advance, but we don't.
Or also, just are you recording? Don't pull an Irvin. Just
It is. I see a red dot that says recording.
Yeah, I'm
fair enough.
I'm better than that. I'm better than that.
I was staring at his beautiful hair.
Yeah.
Got distracted.
It's reasonable. It's good use of time.
Better than that. I don't lose 4 hours of content.
Let's be honest. That first 4 hours was
hot garbage.
Oh, I guarantee it was just belligerent nonsense.
Today's episode is brought to you by Yellow Rose Bourbon, distilled in Houston, Texas. Delicious.
Nice.
Anyway.
What are you drinking over there, Bryan?
Oh, I'm drinking it's actually a new cocktail I found out about. It's called an ice and water. It's just ice and water.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm drinking that minus the ice. So just
water.
Just water. Yeah.
Okay.
How very European of you. Still water, no ice, please.
He has traveled abroad.
It's cold though. It's in the refrigerator, so you know.
There you go. Well, I guess let's start with our NEWstalgia. What is this part called?
Yeah, that's what he had said. I guess we can call it that. If
that'll be the place filler until we come up with something better, which we won't.
which we this forever.
Ewok scales, Lando Blarizian, and now NEWstalgia. That's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome.
So yeah, this is the segment in which we go over what we are watching, reading, have just watched, want to watch, reading, want to read, or whatever. So Irvin, go ahead and start us off. What are you doing currently? What are you keeping up with right now?
What am I keeping up with? So I literally right before this just finished. So last time, y'all remember, I discussed Jupiter's Legacy. And if you haven't heard that episode, make sure that you skip to the spoiler-free part. I do throw that in there because of the boys. We went in post and did it. And I say that because I was just editing the episode. But I digress. So I finished Jupiter's Legacy. It's 8 episodes. It's roughly 40 minutes per episode. And a little disappointed.
How come?
It's basically a CW, The Flash, Arrowverse version of that. I would put money, and I didn't look at the producers and I haven't looked at the writers or anything like that as far as the show is concerned, but I would put money on somebody somewhere along those lines is attached to this show because the way you view it, the way it kind of like leads is very, very similar. Now, is it rated R? Are people getting, beat up and, curse words are being dropped? Absolutely. So it's a little bit better than some of those shows, and it's a little bit worse in some regards, right? It's better in the sense that it has that violence, that gore, that kind of cool factor to it. And the story,
I don't feel like watching The Flash though. I was like, what would make this show better? The F word.
Yeah, but every once in a while, one is just kind of garnered.
You gotta pay the fine to get your point across. You just drop an F-bomb on network television just to get your point across.
Exactly.
fine.
You can't be like a Bostonian, just fucking say fucking motherfucker every other fucking word, you know? So it did let me down a little bit. The story it's interesting. It paced like the comic, a little bit different, but overall it's a 6.57. It's enjoyable. Like you can watch it, but it's
Wait, are
nothing
we talking on
to
the
brag.
Ewok scale?
Ooh, no,
6.5
Ewoks.
out of 9?
Yeah,
God
that's
damn.
yeah. No, I was talking just out of 10. And so
Well, do the
Ewok
Ewok
scale,
conversion.
it's probably like 5.1, I think, is the Ewok scale. So 5.1 out of 9.
That sounds pretty good, though. That's a lot of Ewoks.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, he's not saying it's awful. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like no Ewoks.
It's like right in the middle.
So
yeah,
when you're in between other stuff, give it a watch, because I did realize
Perfect.
that I'm pretty caught up on a lot of things, and which usually and this is from a watching standpoint, like things to watch, right? And I've realized that like I'm like, okay, well, what do I want to sit down and watch? So maybe it's time to kind of switch things that I'm doing. I need to start reading more versus watching more. So now, since I'm caught up like watching, I need to flip over to reading.
Yeah. Touche.
So Bryan, what are you watching, reading, playing?
Let's see. What am I reading, watching, playing? Not much of anything. I'm trying to think. I watched a couple of episodes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Give it a chance.
Really? Yeah. Give it a go.
You
man.
gotta
It gets
give
better.
that one a chance. I don't blame you, because it doesn't hook you and draw you in like WandaVision does.
Mhm.
Well, but remember, WandaVision took a while to get going because the first 3 episodes were just sitcom, and they peppered in the fact that there's something seriously wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, but it still drew you. Like, so again, with WandaVision, I was totally like, okay, what the fuck where's this going? Like, what
Yeah.
is this gonna do? So like, I can't not watch, because I have to see where this is gonna go. Where Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like we got action right off the rip.
well, you get action, but action isn't everything. Like, you want the story to develop, you want to get to know, like, okay, what's going on in the wider world, and it does get you there. And so give that one a chance. Don't give up on it. You'll be disappointed if you don't. However, I guess you need to finish it, and then we'll have a discussion episode of to like go over it.
Yeah.
Because I did learn some things actually from Austin, my brother. He was going through and actually it doesn't give anything away. Keep in mind that when they wrote it in the original, and again, how true this is, I don't know, but it makes a whole lot of sense, is that when they wrote it, there was a huge arc about a virus. And so like the Flag Smashers and stuff, they weren't still in supplies, they were still in vaccines.
Oh.
And things make so much more sense when there was a virus that was introduced by the GRC and they had the only vaccine to it, as to why or how quickly and militarized and like aggressive the Flag Smashers got. And like, and makes the GRC out to be like bad guys. But all of that was scrapped because of COVID-19. So like this stuff
Are
was
you
written.
saying that COVID was predicted by Disney and Disney actually owns COVID like everything else?
Pretty much, yeah. That's what I'm.
House of mouse. So mouse.
But no, I like, so
frankly, that's one of the least insane conspiracy theories behind COVID. So I mean, shit.
Yeah.
Did you guys not watch Utopia, the show on Amazon?
No.
It literally was COVID and what was going on. Like it got pulled after one season. It's essentially like there was this Holy Grail comic book that this guy was, Nostradamus type of guy. He wrote this thing, had a big following, but it was like underground type stuff. And then he wrote a second one that no one knew about. And then they like found out, and it's like worth a bunch of money. And so they needed the pages to like predict what was going on. And there's a billionaire Jeff Bezos type that has the vaccine. Well, it turns out his evil plan was basically make people sterile and fucking not be able to reproduce. And so really interesting. And it was decent. It was a decent show, but it got fucking pulled quick whenever quarantine and COVID happened.
Yeah. And that's what, that I think, you have to think that the story for Falcon and Winter Soldier was written 3 years ago, maybe. Let's just say that, they started kind of throwing around the idea of what the show would be.
Actually, what I heard was that the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe from Iron Man 1 was all supposed to culminate in this series. Like everything
Absolutely.
else was in service of this spin-off series.
Guaranteed.
I'm over here shaking my head.
But yeah, so they
It's-
You need to
give it a
narrate
go.
that.
yeah, give it a
Okay,
go.
well,
but
I'll try.
again,
I'll try
I
and
thought
go
that
back
was
to the well, but
an interesting conspiracy theory throw in there. Shout out
Give
to
it-
Austin for being a conspiracy.
Yeah, shout out to Austin. Give it a go, man. It really
It's
does.
his birthday week too.
It touches on a
yeah.
lot of things. Happy birthday to all of you handsome gentlemen, by the way. It's on all different days. So happy birthday, Trey. Happy birthday, Bryan. Happy birthday, Austin.
Yay.
Thanks,
We can start
Irvin. You're
doing
so
birthday
sweet.
shout outs to people.
Oh yeah, I
as
like
a
that
part of
birthday
our
shout-outs.
as a part of our you have questions, we have answers and birthday wishes.
On that topic,
Hey,
I like
stay on
the
focus.
idea.
Trey,
No,
what's your NEWstalgia thing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally thought Trey had already gone. Apologies.
So I watched New Mutants.
Okay. Is that the one with Arya Stark?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then it's also got
Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit. So
Yes.
it's got
Something Joy.
Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, and
Sexy McSexy. Yes, correct.
The guy from Will Byers' brother from
Stranger Things.
Things.
Is that who
I
Sexy
like that we
McSexy
don't
is?
know the actors' names. We just know the roles they played.
Yeah.
I don't know his name. I know Anna Taylor-Joy, and I know what is her Maisie Williams.
He looks like someone who dressed up like late stage Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So
He's
we're
good
just
in
gonna-
it. He's good in it.
Yeah.
It was okay. It wasn't what I was expecting. Cool introduction of some characters that, like, again, most of them are lost on me. I mean, definite, like, in typical Marvel format, and actually X-Men for that matter, format, is that they're, like, in some way related to one of the mainstream characters. And so, like, I started doing some research and to figure out who the hell they were and where they kind of came up and all this stuff. And again, they're all pretty lesser characters. The Anna Taylor-Joy's character and her name.
She's the biggest one. Magic.
Yeah.
It's Magic.
Magic is Colossus's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not mentioned in the movie by any means, and I'm not going to spoil anything for you. Give it a go. I mean, it's okay. It's on HBO Max right now for free. So, or if you subscribe to HBO Max, so
Yeah.
give it a watch. It was interesting. Like, that's pretty much
Again,
it.
kind of floating in that not good, not bad kind of territory.
Would you recommend it?
Not really.
I think for an avid
In certain
X-Men fan,
circumstances, yeah. I mean, it's going to be better than things that are on.
it's not the worst X-Men movie ever made. Hashtag Dark Phoenix.
Hashtag
Or
a
Age
lot
of
of X-Men
Apocalypse,
movies.
right? That was another
Yeah.
or Apocalypse. I forgot what the fuck they called it.
Yeah, Age of Apocalypse, I think is what it is.
Let me ask you this: would you rather have that 90 minutes back to like hold your son and smell his hair, or
No, all the kids were asleep, so I was on my own. That's good.
Okay, so it was going to be wasted time regardless.
Right.
That should be how we measure all pop culture from now on. It's like,
Do
is
you
this
need that
time you
time
could
back?
have held your flesh and blood in your arms and told them you loved them?
Right.
Nah, I'd rather watch Infinity War a 10th time
Right.
That's wonderful.
alone.
But yeah, that's what I did. That, and I watched the Rush Hour movies.
Okay.
Nice.
1, 2, and 3.
I think I remember seeing a rumor that a fourth one should be coming out soon.
I'd be okay with it. Like, I'd
Same thing with
totally be
Lethal
okay
Weapon
with it.
4 or 5, I guess.
Yeah,
That rumor was originated by the utter bankruptcy of Hollywood to come up with new ideas. It's like, well,
Yeah.
what 30-year-old franchise can we resurrect now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good franchise. Yeah, it's like, I don't think Jackie Chan needs any more money, but Chris Tucker probably does. So they would do another one. Shout
He's
out
not
Chris
still
Tucker.
cashing those Fifth Element royalty checks?
I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he is. By the way, fans, if you haven't heard that episode, please go back and listen to it. It's a wonderful episode.
Bashing.
So, speaking of the
Villain
fans,
bashing.
I have questions from the fans. They've
We've got
got
answers.
questions. We've got answers. again, Bryan, I'm not sure if we can say that or not if the company doesn't exist anymore. So we'll work that out later. Anyways, question number 1 coming out from Ash's Comic Dash. Shout out to Ash. If you could meet up with one YouTube content creator in real life, who would you choose? I know who I would pick. I'm pretty sure I know who Trey would pick. I'm curious, Bryan, who's going to be yours? And I can go first. I can give you a little bit of time to think about it, mull it over a little bit.
Oh, no, I've got mine.
Shoot.
The guys that do Red Letter Media, they do the Plinkett review of Star Wars and some other movies.
Nice.
And they do a show called Half in the Bag. They're just whip smart. And every time I watch their movie reviews, I get a great insight into the nuance of filmmaking and the production aspects of it. Things that are completely I'm completely oblivious to. They see it. It's like they look out and they see the Matrix. I just think they're very insightful. Watching the Plinkett reviews of the Star Wars movies, it's like watching 3 hours of, oh my God, that's why they suck. And it's very enlightening. So I would want to hang out with those guys and drink beer, and they just seem like cool cats.
Is that the same guys that do like Honest Trailers and Movie Sins?
Different guys. They actually tease the Honest Trailers folks a lot because they became very much beholden to the Hollywood stuff they were riffing on, whereas Red Letter Media, like, they're a bunch of like, they live in like Milwaukee or whatever, and they just don't give a shit. They're like, no one from Hollywood wants to talk to us, so fuck them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd get a beer with those guys. What about y'all? Trey, who's your pick?
YouTube content creator. You know what? I'd probably like to go hang out and like eat some weird stuff and do some weird things with either Binging with Babish.
Yeah,
that's who I 100% thought you were going
to say.
What is it? Andrew Raya, something like that. Yeah, I'd like to go hang out with him and drink a glass of scotch and make some weird shit up in the kitchen. And this voice is so soothing. So like, yeah,
and smoothing.
Smoothing and soothing.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites and has been for quite a while. But also like to go hang out and chill and like play their stupid games with Rhett and Link, and on Good Mythical Morning. They would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
They would be fun to go hang out with and like play their stupid games and eat weird shit.
Good picks, Trey. Irvin, what about you? Who's your YouTube crush? Wait, is that what we're talking about?
Pretty much.
Yes. Yeah, that's fine. We'll go with that. YouTube crush. For me, it's going to be First We Feast, Sean Evans. I just want to eat some wings and talk with, people. And I still think we need to do that. Like, I want to order
but we got
wings for us. We could put it on ribs or like,
no,
we could do something else. Ooh, we could go take Bryan to get tacos at Del Sol.
Down there, yeah.
Only green sauce tacos.
Only green sauce.
That's just bad.
Here's my pitch, guys, for our segment. Whatever it is, hot sauce and ribs or whatever, but that equivalent, and we make fan fiction.
Like as we're going along.
Yeah. So, and we'll pass it off. So like, I'll start and I'll be like, okay, Wanda leaves whatever that place was called. Who cares? She leaves to go study witchcraft, and then she meets up with her new best friend, Bella Swan from the Twilight universe. Dun dun dun.
Why does fan fiction always come back to Twilight? Always.
No.
I just feel like it's such an empty universe, and all the characters are like cardboard cutouts that you can just play with them, and like no one's gonna be like, Bella would never do that, because you know nothing about Bella. Okay, so that's my pitch, is we do fanfic and hot ribs.
Hot tacos.
Hot talks.
We got to do sauces. We got to do
talks.
Oh God, I just made it up.
Oh, hot talks with hot talks.
No, just hot talks.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry to try to add on the fucking flavor to your shit. Okay, I'll just go fuck myself real quick.
But stay on video when you do it. Yeah.
Well, on that No, let's switch to the next question that we have here. This is a pretty good one. And I forgot who asked this question. So it's either going to be Sensible Comics, V Comics, who else? Swagger Comics, and J Paz, Juan Paz. Shout out to all those folks. I
Yeah,
mixed
just
up all
of
y'all's
you got a
questions.
shout out. One of you asked a question, but all of you get the shout out.
No. There's more than one question. So this question, let's make it quick. Who do you think will be the first mutant or mutants to be introduced into the MCU? We were just talking about mutants. So I personally think it's going to be Deadpool just because they've already announced Ryan Reynolds is going to be there. So I think that may be the easiest transition for them, but I don't know. Who knows what Feige has in mind?
My bet is going to be a conservative one. I think they're going to probably introduce the original X-Men team from the first introduction of them. And I don't remember who it is. I know it's Iceman and like 4 other people, maybe Iceman, Beast.
Iceman, Beast without hair, Cyclops, Jean Grey. Is it Warren Worthington the third, aka?
Yeah, I think Angel was one of the originals. And that's
Warren, or is it William? I always forget that. I know it's a W. I want to say it's Warren.
Just like rich white guy name.
No,
it's Ben Affleck is the name of.
You white? You Ben Affleck.
Yeah. So that'd be my pick for who they are. It's going to be whatever the original X-Men like team up was. I think they probably won't. It'll be kind of the way that they didn't introduce Uncle Ben in the Spider-Man movies. Like they just say Magneto and Professor X are out there. We don't care about them right now. We're just going to focus on this new team of mutants who are probably going to be probably out of high school, kind of more like 20s. They'll be kind of like generally adults, the way that all the Marvel, not Tony Stark characters are. So that would be my pick. And then they'll kind of build it off of there. And then you'll probably have the occasional Deadpool cameo that pops in and is like, where's Wolverine? And I would say they probably won't cast Wolverine just because that's going to be a very daring. It's like casting Batman. Like that's one where you're going to get shit no matter who you cast because it's not Hugh Jackman.
That's going to be a tough
unless Hugh Jackman, I mean, getting that Disney money.
He's done, dude. The workouts. I mean, it's true. He did. I remember an interview where he said the only way he would consider coming back is if X-Men were to go into the Marvel universe.
There you go.
But this was like way before he had retired. So
way before Logan, basically.
Yeah. And that's also his big thing. He's like, I want that as like my legacy for that character. It's a great send off. Like it's perfect, you know?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
That's probably my favorite. On a high note with end on a high note in a career with a full of low notes.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that means that they won't bring him back for a cameo, but they're not going to bring back Hugh Jackman's character of Wolverine. And so they might, like I said, he might pop up in a Deadpool cameo or a Deadpool movie, but they're going to want to cast a newer, younger guy. Because think about it. They're not worried about the next movie. They're not worried about the next decade of movies. And so they want to eventually try and bottle that lightning again.
Right.
Wait, what are we talking about?
What mutant's going to be first introduced into the MCU? And I think it's actually going to be like from the original crew, right? Big name original crew. But I think it's going to be like a Professor Xavier and starting it off like that way because Madripoor is the main reason that I think that. Which
Madripoor's big.
That
was like a huge name drop. You haven't gotten there, Brian.
You will. You'll get there in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and it's just a location. It's not really it doesn't give away a plot point, but it is a location that is within Falcon and Winter Soldier that is known for the X-Men to have hung out there, most notably Professor Xavier and Magneto.
But you also had Patch that was there. Speaking of Wolverine, Patch, had a good amount of time there. That was one of Wolverine's aliases.
I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a big name, but more than likely it's going to be a Deadpool cameo and probably associated. And it would make sense if they associated it with Spider-Man. The only thing is that Tom Holland's pretty young. He's young, a young Spider-Man, whereas, they were about the same age when there used to be crossovers between, it was like an adult Peter Parker and an adult Wade Wilson.
Yeah.
But that's my guess. Either Deadpool or X.
Yeah. No, that's good. It's good. I dig it. So final question here. This is coming from Singapore. We have a fan out in Singapore. Good old Andy Tran. Shout out to Andy Tran. So hardest boss you've ever had to defeat in a video game?
Depression, probably.
No, in a video game.
Yeah, I think that sometimes video games cause me to feel depressed. No. That's a good question. Probably Sephiroth from Kingdom Hearts. I still have never beaten him, and I never will, and I never want to go back.
Don't waste your life.
Don't throw it away.
Don't throw it away. That's a good one. But hang on, I gotta look this one up because I gotta remember the name. So Irvin, go ahead with yours.
I'll go with mine. Okay, so do y'all remember playing Nintendo 64 Zelda Ocarina of Time?
Yes, I do remember that thing.
Of course.
That it's one of the most epic games of all time, right? I love that game. I still have it. I still have my 64. There is
fucking nerd.
You go through all the yeah, exactly. I wish I need to set it up and like have it, but I have so much chaos right now. But anyways, the water level, there was a glitch in the game that if you didn't do a specific set of like go down in the water and blah 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 whatever, but if you did the other thing, like if you accidentally did the other thing, you could literally not move forward from that point. And so I did the thing where you messed up, and I got to that point and I restarted twice. So I restarted once, messed up, or I started once, messed up, restarted again, got to the same point, did the same thing again, and just was like, no, I'm done with this. So I never actually beat that game because I kept glitching at the same spot, and I was so annoyed by it. So it wasn't even a boss. It was just a stage in that water temple.
Yeah, so your greatest boss is a puzzle meant for children. Okay, gotcha. Trey, what's yours?
Thanks, Bryan.
Just kidding. I love you, Irvin.
Sega Saturn had a game called...
What? You played a Sega Saturn?
Hell yeah, I did.
One of the 3 people who did that.
I still have it.
Genesis, where was that, brother?
What's that?
The Sega Genesis afterwards?
Genesis was before.
Genesis came first. Saturn... Yeah. Saturn was the like Super Nintendo version, right?
No, Saturn was the N64. It was 64-bit, but right. It had CDs.
So it was like a PlayStation,
basically.
Okay.
Wait, Clockwork Knight 2 was the game, and there was a boss on that game, which was Paper Morphe. That was the name of it. It was a library level. And and I would get stuck there, of course.
Just reading.
Library level.
Rabdarga. That's how you beat that.
And you get to this point to where it locks you into a screen and you have to fight a piece of paper. Now, the piece of paper, because it's called Paper Morphe, changes into 3 different things. There's a monkey, like a leopard or like a cheetah, and then a bird. And so you had 3 different techniques that you had to do to play this thing. I think I beat it one time, got past it. And then of course my save lost or whatever. So I just said, fuck it, done. Not doing that again. Kind of like you, got to a point, maybe, I don't know. And I'm not even saying that, like, I'm saying maybe I got past it. Maybe I never did. And that's why I said, fuck it. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still to this day remember that fucking boss. And like, I could play so fast getting up to that point, like beat like 3 bosses, boom, I was there. And then would lose every time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Origami kicked your ass, man.
Origami kicked my ass.
Origami kicked his ass. Read a book, do a report, get a book.
Can I change my answer from whatever stupid one I had originally to the boss in Tetris, which is the steady and persistent onslaught of time? Because I never beat Tetris. Time is ever your enemy, and it's kind of like real life that way. You can never go backwards.
Always the positive light in our conversations. Always just a ray of sunshine.
Yeah. Sephiroth sucked though. But yeah, time is always the enemy.
Well, perfect. Well, that caps off the questions. Thank you guys to those of you who submitted, and gals, to those of y'all that submitted. We love answering these questions for you guys, and it can be anything. It can be a broad range of topics. So send them in. We will get them on the show. We'll answer them to the best of our abilities. With that said, Trey, what are we chatting about today? What is the main topic?
Video games.
Video games? What about video games?
More importantly, arcade games. And which arcade games are your favorite?
Okay, do you mean games that we played in an arcade or games that are primarily, because I didn't play a lot of arcade games growing up. I'm outing myself.
I would say, I mean, okay, if you can remember, I'm sure you played an arcade game.
Yes.
Somewhere at some point. So you have to have a memory of that. So I would say that which one stands out the most? Because again, if you didn't play a lot, then you have a very small field to choose from. Because it's like, well, yeah, I love Street Fighter, and I played Street Fighter on, all these consoles or whatever, like, or Mortal Kombat even for that matter. I mean, it's like, yeah, but so did everybody. But I think that the crux of this question is like being out and about, putting quarters in a machine and playing with, either your friends that are there with you or somebody that you just like run into at the arcade or whatever primary establishment had the arcade. Because there was a Mexican food restaurant near where I grew up that had Mortal Kombat in like a little room.
Nice.
Like a little playroom. So like parents could finish their margaritas and you would go back there and play Mortal Kombat.
Okay. So, well, Irvin, let's start with you. What's your favorite arcade game?
Now, question is, are we going just 1, 2? What are we doing here?
One thing that I was thinking of,
round robin, multiple rounds.
Yeah, multiple round. I mean, I don't think they're competing per se.
Okay.
But I think that
pick Virtua Fighter again.
No, I never played that in an arcade version because I don't think anybody else thought it was a good game but me.
Thank you.
But it's still the best. But it's still the best, and it won. Like it won our contest, so it doesn't matter.
Did not.
Did it? Did it?
It totally did. It totally did.
Trey, I don't even think you
hang on,
agreed with yourself on that one.
Play it back. Play it back. I think it's clearly heard me saying I win at the end of it.
Is that the measure of success?
Absolutely.
Why do you win? Because I win.
Because I win.
Trey, your self-esteem fills me with such joy.
So I think that I was gonna do one because I mean I definitely had a couple and I can even start this one because it'll give you guys more time to kind of see where I was going.
I know mine too, but yeah.
My one from being a kid, and like fondly remembering it and playing it, at least having to play it every time that like we were around it, right? Like that was kind of the thing. Is Cruising USA.
Nice.
Nice. It's they're
cruising.
Yeah, there are so many, fighting games, and you're thinking like what Metal Slug and you get your Street Fighters and your Mortal Kombats and stuff like that. All great games. Not knocking any one of them. Great arcade games, a lot of memories had there. But there's something about sitting in the chair, barely reaching the pedals, shifting through the gears and stuff like that, and being able to double tap and wheelie. But yeah, just going in, like sitting down, being able to actually sit in the chair, press the pedals. I think that was the cool part about it, was the interaction, which you do get that from some of the shooting games too. And those are a lot of fun. But again, Cruising USA, very iconic, especially for like our age group. Definitely the best as like a childhood game, right? So I'll go that with and so I have another one that I'll talk about. It's kind of similar, but it's not at the same time. But I'll let you guys go with maybe your childhood, or maybe your just number one favorite, or whatever. I'll let you go. We'll go like one round of everybody's first one, and then we'll do another round.
The one I remember playing a lot, and I'm also breaking the rules because I just don't remember playing that many arcade games, was I don't know if you guys remember, but like Windows 95 had the arcade collection, and it had Snake and Missile Command and like Solitaire and shit like that.
But didn't it also have the like pinball?
Yes, it did have pinball.
Okay,
but I didn't play pinball.
That's the one I remember from that.
Mm-hmm. The one game in the arcade collection that I probably played the most was Asteroid, where you're a little triangle ship in a field of asteroids that are hurtling at you, and you need to shoot them, break them down into smaller ones, and eventually disappear them. And the longer the game goes on, the more asteroids, the faster they are, the more you shoot them, the smaller the bits get, and it adds a lot of complexity to it. And you're able to go around the stage and avoid them and go from one end of the screen to the other. I just played a hell of a lot of that game, and I never got any better. I always died within like 2 rounds, but I still tried at it a lot. And that's probably, like, I ate up so much of my time playing that game on my little console, or I guess my little, Windows 95 from 100 years ago. That was a lot of fun. That was my favorite arcade game.
But so that's fair because it is based off of an arcade game. Like
yeah.
It's a real arcade game.
Exactly. But
so I played it in a different version. I
don't think I've ever played Asteroid, or is it Asteroids? I don't think I've ever played it at an arcade.
I mean, I don't even know where you would find it now. Like, even when we were young, that was already
on its way out.
Well, yeah, because they were always making way for the new stuff, like the Alien and Terminator shooters. That's the thing, is my memory of a lot of the arcade games that I saw and I would play growing up were the rail shooters, where it's like you've got a gun and you shoot at a bunch of Terminators or aliens or whatever fake terrorists pop up on the screen. Yeah, just generic bad guys for the lower rent ones, the ones that weren't licensed. And they were all very samey, and even as a kid, I remember getting the sense that you're feeding quarters just to progress down the level, and I didn't enjoy that because it didn't feel like there was any skill involved. Not that I'm a skilled player by any stretch, but I didn't enjoy that the alien would like explode my chest, and I had 10 seconds to resurrect myself with a quarter. Like that, I was like, ugh. I'm just dead. The alien aided me.
So on that note, I'll segue into one of my choices here. And it was a shooter game, but it was the best shooter game. And it's kind of a combination of what you just said, right? It's you remember it. You felt like it was generic. Trey's pick had a pedal. This game had a pedal. I'm talking about Time Crisis.
I knew you were gonna say Time Crisis. Yes.
Yeah.
Time Crisis 2 specifically. 1 was pretty good, but 2, I remember that vividly in my mind, and that's the one that had the gun that like cocked. Yeah. And so I remember I would be able to spam, like if you held the gun a certain way, like if you use both of your hands, like you could spam it and get it to like shoot really fast. And so I remember learning that technique and doing that. And I would play that with my cousin. We would get through the stages. Yes, we had to throw in quarters, whenever it got really, really hard. But for the most part, we did pretty good, and we were able to get through the game on like, let's say $3 or $4 or something like that. Whatever money, nothing crazy. But that was mine, man.
Okay.
So
Shout out to Robert, by the way.
Again, that's a childhood memory, right? That's like when I was littler and was, able to move the chair up and to touch the pedals and, trying to shift through the gears and not being very good at it, but always putting it on manual because I ain't no chump. But, so Cruising USA, yeah, that's definitely like the throwback one. But the one that stands out that like even as I got older and both Austin and I liked it a whole bunch that we ended up buying this game after playing the arcade version and buying it on N64, and it was Hydro Thunder. So Hydro Thunder is another racing game, but it's a boat racing game. And so you can pick, you know, like there are all these outlandish like speed boats, you know, and it's an outlandish game in that like you're hitting jumps and like going under volcanoes and like, you know, depending on the level or whatever. And you had a steering wheel. And it was a sit down game. You had a steering wheel, and then you had the throttle off to the right side, so you pulled back to slow down and then pushed forward to get, you know, to go faster, like so like an actual boat throttle. And so again, you know, the tactile motion of being able to control the speed of the boat with, you know, your right hand, and then it had a boost button, so it like had a little toggle on the
little nos,
a little little nos is exactly what it was.
It felt real,
but the mechanics of the game in, you know, we're Cruising USA, you just press the gas and go and hit the walls and do all your shit, you know, like just whatever, which most racing games, especially like the Mario Karts and stuff like that, you
Midnight Club.
You just go and run into as many things as you want to, and you still will finish okay. This one, actually, you couldn't run into you could run into the walls and you could get away with it sometimes, but a lot of times you would just stop dead and you would have to like turn, and like it was not a good thing to touch the walls in this one. So you would try and cut it and slow down and speed up and then hit your boost at the right time. And so like you could kind of drift the boat. Like, again, the mechanics of like driving on water or racing on water were really neat. And again, this is something that came out later. This wasn't available like when we were younger. You know, something maybe junior high, maybe even high school. And like, so I remember playing it, but again, enjoying it so much in an arcade that we bought a copy that they happen to have for N64. And so I guess whatever time frame that is, whenever we had an N64, that puts it that date. That's what I thought was cool. That's my second choice. So again, I have two racers out of all the arcade games that have always been around. I have two racers on here, which I thought was kind of funny, but it was just different. And
they're fun.
I like the
Cruising USA is a classic.
Blows in your hair and everything. That's all cool. You know, the one that I played the other day, and I had Quaid on my lap, and when you get going and you're driving it, it has fans in the front and it blows in your hair. And I was like, this is so unnecessary, but I like it.
One more way to give you the experience.
It's totally the experience. And I think that's what you get from an arcade game that you don't get, or what you can get from an arcade that you don't get like with just an at-home console, or like something that's ported onto an at-home console, is without spending bukus of money, buying your own steering wheel and your own pedal setup and your own chair and your own fan and
buy
things
a car
like
at that point.
Right. Just go out and go racing.
But wasn't that the really cool thing about the Nintendo Wii when it came out, was that it got you off the couch and you were actually throwing the bowling ball, or you were swinging the tennis racket, right? Like
Wii Sports, boxing.
Yeah. Like that, to me, those memories are really great from I've played 1,000 hours of video games sitting on the couch, but the times where we were like yelling at each other and like throwing Wiimotes and shit like that sticks out
Yeah.
because of that physical experience.
No, I mean, I have videos of my wife and my parents doing what is it? It's not joust. It's like the dueling where you like have the sword or whatever. And like, I'm taking a video behind them and they're just doing like this crazy moves. And I'm like, yeah, this is blackmail material. Perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Boom.
But they enjoyed it too.
Mm-hmm.
So Bryan, what's your second pick? I know you're not an arcade guy, but what's an actual arcade game that you played? I don't even want to know what your favorite is. I want to know something that you played.
I think it's gonna have to be that stupid Terminator rail shooter. No. What? Okay, it was like that. It's a rail shooter, and so the premise is you've got the gun, and there are really bad actors who did this. It wasn't motion capture. It's literally just like inserts of a live action person inside of a cartoon universe, and you're supposed to shoot a bunch of guys with guns and terrorists, and like that's what it was. I can't remember the name of it, but
It was like a big gun too, right? Like
it was. It was big for a child, so
it
felt massive. And you shot off the screen to reload. That was probably a common mechanic. I can't remember the name of it, but it's on the tip of my tongue. That was probably it, because that game was in every arcade that I've ever gone to. Probably because it sucked. There's no one in line, so I was able to get into it. And it was a nice little cathartic. You get to lob a grenade every once in a while and wipe all the bad guys off on stage. If you accidentally shoot one of the hostages, that's not great. It takes points off. I think you maybe die after shooting enough hostages, which obviously, because I was just not that competitive, I'd eventually always shoot the hostages. And I was taking the lesson from Speed. So there was some moral reason for that. So, yeah, whatever unnamed rail shooter game.
Shout out unnamed rail shooter game.
Irvin, what's yours? What's your second pick?
Second pick is a classic game. Do y'all remember the arcade area? And y'all boys were out from the woods, from the podunk, so y'all probably don't. Maybe y'all do, maybe y'all don't. There was a place in town called off of 59. It was called Celebration Station.
Yeah, of course.
So did you go there?
No, I went to Dave & Buster's, which was the podunk, like woodsman one that we went to.
Okay, fair enough. That ended up becoming like the adult version.
Yeah.
It's funny enough. I think it's still around. Trey, did you ever go to Celebration Station?
Yes, okay. I did, for somebody. Yeah, probably
like a birthday party of somebody. Yeah,
exactly.
So this was the most, I don't know how this place went under, but it had putt-putt. It had water, like bumper water cars. And then it had also regular, just like bumper cars. On top of that, inside, it had a play area for like little kids and like a pizza area. And then you had the arcade. So this was like an epic place to go to. The one game that I loved going and playing, it was me, and I usually had like my crew of cousins that we would go, but it was me and my cousin Robert for sure, and then probably like two smaller cousins. And we would go and we would play X-Men, the arcade game.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great one, right? And it was a 6-person like game. Like that was the most. Like usually arcade games were 4. This one had 6. And I always chose Nightcrawler as the character because he had the best power in my opinion in the game, because basically he would just go around and kill the entire screen. Like anybody who was there, any villain, he would wipe them out. So like in dire situations when like people's powers are running low and stuff, I was the clutch guy. I would hit my boost power, wipe everything out and push us forward a little bit and let everybody recharge
Mhm.
their powers. So that was my classic arcade game that I remember growing up and playing.
So was it just called X-Men the arcade game?
I believe so. I think it was just called X-Men. I looked it up too because I was like, I don't remember. It came out in 92 and it just says X-Men.
It just says X-Men 6-player arcade.
Yep.
You can own one too for $4,800.
Nope.
4,800?
4,800.
I won't like it
I
that
got better
much.
things to do with my money.
Exactly.
But if you do it on eBay, $231 for 24 months with PayPal credit.
Oh well, that makes more sense. But honestly, I'd rather spend that money watching New Mutants a bunch and than wasting the time
Right.
with that stellar recommendation.
No, but I totally remember this game. Side scroller, X-Men.
It was a great game. It was
Very
a great
cool.
game. Lots of good memories on that one. It's funny. So I can still remember where it was located. Whenever you walked in, play area was to the left, food, all that, right? And then you went to the right, and then it dipped down, and then it was like the 6th or 7th one. And there was dozens of arcade games, but I still remember where it was placed. About 2 steps down, and then right towards the middle.
Do you remember having to wait in line for the arcade games?
Not at Celebration Station because it was so massive. Like,
Yes and no. I think, like you said, the cool ones. So like the more popular ones,
Mhm.
like you would have to wait. And so I remember going to places like Celebration Station, right, or Chuck E. Cheese to an extent. They had more of the ticket games. They didn't have a whole lot of the like traditional arcade video games that we're talking about, but they had some.
I think it's just an age thing at that point.
Yeah, and then but like I said, the Mexican food restaurant, like the random Mexican food restaurant that had an arcade set up in the back with just like a couple of machines, and then the skating rink, like along the wall at the skating rink, they had a pretty like decent sized selection for just for being like the secondary draw to this place.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they had many rail shooters because I think they would take up too much room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but they did. I mean, but again, they had a Cruis'n USA and a Hydro Thunder, which
massive.
Those are massive.
People loved those. Crowds just
always
come to them.
Oh yeah. So those were the two, like as a kid kind of growing up. And again, one was younger, one was, a little bit older, where I was older enough that I could participate and play games and do fairly well, like not running into the walls and stuff. So like actually getting some skill together. The last one is a full grown adult that I have, and you guys may not have another one, but this is the last one. I have to mention it because of the
I already know what it is.
The countless hours that I've spent playing this game, and who knows how many dollars, because this is not a quarters game anymore. This is dollars that you had to put into this game. Golden Tee.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. I remember playing that at the house back in the day.
Yep. We had it at the fraternity house. One of the restaurants I worked at in college had it.
Yep.
And we used to play just all the time. A lot of the bars that we hung out at had it. The restaurant next door to the restaurant that I worked at had like 4 of them in the same room. You can still find them. I don't think they're as popular as they were once. Like, I think it was more right when we were in college. So,
yeah. I bet Kung Fu in Houston probably still has it because they have every arcade.
Yeah, they have everything.
Well, not every arcade, but they have a bunch.
Right. So yeah, I'm sure that you'll find like kind of just a lonesome machine like hanging out. And I forgot the year, because it's a annual thing that they come out with the new, updated graphics and courses and different color shirts that the players can wear and stuff. And it's like supposedly
important stuff.
Yeah, like it connects to the internet, and you can like create an account, and every time you plug your credit card in, it like fires up your account, and you like, I mean, it's like high tech now,
Yeah.
Ours, I think, had that capability, but we never hooked it up. At the restaurant, we didn't give a shit. And it was like 4 years out of date by the time that I even started working there. So yeah, I mean, I don't remember the year that we played, but it was old. And then I would go to a bar that people actually cared and like spent way more money than I did, and I felt like I spent a lot of money on that game. And they had like the crazy funky hat and like shorts instead of pants, and like knew the courses like the back of their hand and stuff like that. Anyway, Golden Tee.
Tee.
A lot of good times. I haven't found a golf game that's better than that one. There's not one that's more fun.
Fair. My third and final is not a game I've ever played. It's a game I've always desperately wanted to play in the arcade. Have you guys seen it's an indie movie. Not many folks have seen it, called Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Haven't heard of it.
Come with me if you want to live.
Well, in that movie, a young John Connor, played by Eddie Furlong, is in an arcade early on, and he's hanging out with his red-haired friend who's Budnick, I guess, from Salute Your Shorts. Wait, have we talked about this before? I'm having deja vu.
We've talked about him, but I don't think we've talked about the game. Maybe.
In the movie, when the T-1000 is trying to child abduct and then murder John Connor, John Connor is inside of this. I don't know what kind of game it is, but it's the setup. The console is like a disc, or not a disc, I guess like a ring that you sit inside, and it kind of rotates left to right and up and down. And it looks like a shooter or some kind of military type game. I have no idea what it is, but I've always wanted to play it. It looks so cool. Just again, it goes back to what Trey was talking about with his two racing games. It looks like a game that is much more immersive than simply sitting there and pushing buttons. You are literally rotating forward and then side to side to, I don't know, that could be a golf game for all I know. But whatever imaginary, possibly made up arcade game that was, I want to go back in time and play it in the distant past of like 1992.
As a arcade aficionado, as a learned, person that's been through several courses of arcade, I've never seen a game like that. The closest thing that I can think of is there's a Star Wars game that was similar to that, where you had the stick, or maybe the fighter pilot ones. But that one, it was never like you're laying down. You're always upright, and like it kind of like tilts a little bit.
Well, yeah, so it looks like you're sitting down in a cockpit, and I probably didn't describe it very well. Like again, it's like you're sitting in, like I said, it's like a ring that loops in front of you and behind you, and so you sit inside the ring. Trey, I'm sure you're looking it up right now. Have you been able to find out what it is?
No, the only one that I'm like, because of course you type in Terminator 2 arcade game, and of course there's a T2 arcade game, and so that's what comes up. But like the one that I'm looking at that kind of is kind of explained by like where like there's a front and the back to it, and you have like a joystick in the middle, is like a Halo game. Fire Team Raven. I don't know what that is, but it's like
there's a bunch of them. Like what he's describing, I can picture it in my mind, and there's several games that are like that.
Yeah. Well, so do you remember what was the name of that fucking movie? With Sinbad.
I found it.
Oh, you did?
What is it? It's called Afterburner, and it looks like a fighter jet game. But then when you do type in I'm Googling this, what game was John Connor playing? They made him playing Missile Command, which I think is just like an in-joke for what the Terminator universe is about.
Yeah. Okay, I see it. Yeah. So yeah, that Halo arcade game that I found first is looks very similar to this. Mm-hmm. The one that I was thinking about that, and it is one that I've played, but only once. First Kid. So First Kid, Sinbad is a Secret Service agent that can either get somebody shot or somebody killed or whatever. and then he gets assigned to the president's son, who's like
Oh wait, I kind of remember this.
an early high schooler,
no.
like late middle school, whatever. Anyway, so there's this guy plotting to kidnap the first kid, and Sinbad, of course, doesn't know about it or whatever. So they go to this mall, and the kid is playing an arcade game in the mall. And do you remember those red VR helmets that you would have to pull down and put over your head? Like, that shit ain't gonna fly in COVID anymore, but like you'd put it over your head, and then like you would turn your body around because it was like kind of on its arm, and you would shoot like tanks or whatever it was with the triggers on the handles as you pulled like that helmet over your head. I played one of those because I thought it was really cool, and I saw it at an arcade after watching that movie, and I was like, God, that looks awesome. Like, you know, he's like really living it up. This looks awesome. Let's do this. I tried one, and I'm not a tall guy, but in like 1996, I was very not tall. And so I was kind of hanging off the ground a little bit, trying to shoot this thing, and it tilts up, down, left, right. Like you can spin it 360, whatever, as you walk around on your feet. Made me so sick. It made me so sick because it's like you're trying to focus on this stuff that's like, and it's like vector graphics. Like it's not anything spectacular. And so you're like trying to blow up a tank like way off in the distance or whatever. So your eyes are focusing out there, and then you turn too fast, and then it like all disappears, and it's like, oh yeah. No, thank you.
That's so funny.
Never again. But so I did get to play the game that I saw in a movie.
That's pretty cool.
That I thought was cool.
Yeah.
But it was not what I wanted it to be. So don't ever play that game because it won't be what you think it's gonna be. Don't ruin the dream.
Yeah, just let it live in the want part of your brain, not the regret. Okay, good advice.
I was gonna finish off with a specific game that I played over and over and over again. It was Tekken. I played all the Tekkens for a long time. Great tournament stuff. Eddie Gordo and Jin Kazama, those were my guys. But as we were talking, something popped in my mind for a game that I know both of you guys will have wanted to play, or maybe you did play. Star Wars Pod Racing.
Hell yeah. I played that shit out of that. It's one of them.
Because you were in the pod race. Like it was Annie's pod, and you get in there and you're controlling the levers because you control the two engines or whatever it was, right? On each side. And then like the way you angled, like I remember that was a fun game. The mechanics were a little bit different, and so it made it fun.
Did they squander the opportunity to have an unlockable character for a racer that would be Darth Vader? Because wouldn't that be a great pod racer character?
Oh, that'd have been amazing.
You just like spin out every time. Like you get one wing broken off, and then you just go for the rest of the race.
But you could also force choke Sebulba when you're racing.
Fuck that guy.
And that would be chef kiss.
What a dick. Sebulba was such a dick.
Fuck that guy.
Nah, dude, he was just like, he was in the zone. Like he was a competitor, and he didn't want some punk kid who had magical Jesus powers to come out. And I'm trying to think of like, okay, it'd be like if Lance Armstrong was like competing, and then some like punk kid was like, oh, I'm going to do the Tour de France. He's like, shut up, kid. Get your little Schwinn bicycle out of here. My bicycle costs $40,000.
That's when you loosen a bolt on his chain. Make sure he doesn't finish the race.
Make sure he dies.
Yeah, because like honestly, Sebulba was probably looking out for him. He's like, dude, this is not a race for kids. Like this is a race for like grown people. Like I'm an alien who was bred by other aliens just to do pod racing on Tatooine. You're just a little human that doesn't even have a dad.
I have now thought of a new segment for us, and it's centered around Bryan coming up and defending clearly terrible humans,
indefensible
events. And so I want you to defend Darth Vader real quick. Like
Darth Vader, he
redeems himself. So early Darth Vader.
Yeah. No. Someone actually asked me, I think it was on May the 4th. Someone asked me, is Darth Vader a good leader? And I was like, hell no, he's not. Darth Vader is a terrible leader, because you think about when you see him in the original trilogy, he is the lackey to Grand Moff Tarkin. Not a good leader at all. Is he a good leader in the Empire or Return of the Jedi? Of course not, because what's the first thing you see him do? He chokes out his subordinates, which is not good leadership. You let your people underneath you learn and grow and make occasional non-fatal mistakes. Them coming out of hyperspace too early was not the reason they didn't capture Luke or the rebels that day. The Force and Obi-Wan was what allowed them to escape. What else? Then he demonstrates that he's still the Emperor's lackey. So you think that finally Grand Moff Tarkin, boo, he got blowed up on the Death Star. He can be his own man now. No, he's still a lackey to the Emperor. And then you think about, was he a good leader in the end when he got redeemed? No, because he betrayed his boss. That is not what you want in an employee, or and that's truly pretty typical of the Sith, as we know, but that's not great to demonstrate to your subordinates. Is you're like, man, one day I'm going to get choked, and if I do raise up in the ranks, I'm going to get like thrown into the Death Star core and blow it up. No, I don't want that in my life. And then obviously you can find 1,000 ways that Anakin was a terrible leader. His only like Padawan learner goes off to some like poison planet and uses really dope white lightsabers. Okay, that was his only redeeming quality. But in Darth Vader's defense, I guess he demonstrates he's a great foil for Han Solo's like casual leadership of just getting it. He's a general by the end of that trilogy. How did that happen? He was frozen in carbonite.
He was a smuggler, and then he became a general. General Solo.
Were the rebels that hard up for leadership and talent? They were like, dude, you were there and did very little at the Battle of Yavin. So
you want a job?
Yeah, you want a job. You were frozen in carbonite for about 3 years. You want to lead a rebel attack squad?
Yeah, I think we might have a new segment here for the future.
Okay,
but we'll give you fair warning so you could prep for it.
Yeah, cool. There's defensive Sebulba.
Yeah. No. Well,
cheater.
Yeah, he was a cheater.
If you ain't cheating, you're trying.
He was a complete dick.
Well, Trey, close us out. Anybody else got any other arcade games they want to add into the mix?
Nah.
I
think that. I mean,
we covered it. We talked some good ones. Yeah,
we talked about some good ones, and not the typical ones, right? I think.
Yeah.
You know, the part of
did a good job about that.
Part of the arcade story, I think, is really who you're there with, and then even if you're not there with anybody, like meeting up with somebody to like play Mortal Kombat with, or whatever else is there. And so we didn't really touch on a lot of the fighting games and stuff like that, but we've talked fighting games in the past, and so again,
this was I think perfectly done.
Well, I think that's about it for this episode of Nerd Nostalgia Podcast. Please give us 5 stars and like us and do all the things that you're supposed to do on wherever you listen to podcasts.
And ask us questions for us to answer.
Oh, yeah, more questions. Questions are fun.
Questions are fun. I think we'll do 3 each time. I think there's 3 of us, 3 questions. I feel like that's solid.
Send Irvin characters you'd like me to defend. Come up with characters you'd like us to mash up in our hot talks.
Hot talks,
such a great segment.
Hot talks, and if you got a birthday, we will wish you a happy birthday. And thanks for the questions today, Andy. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah,
old Singapore boy.
Oh, Singapore. Well, all right.
I need another drink. I'm out.
Well, you heard Trey's drink clank and Bryan's yawn, so you know it's time for us to head on out. Thanks again for joining us. We'll catch you on the next episode. And remember, stay nerdy, my friends.